It's opening night in the Big East Conference, and from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Marquette Golden Eagles lift the curtain on a new era of men's college basketball, taking on the SIU-Edwardsville Cougars. FS2 College Hoops is sponsored by Jeep. There's only one. Welcome inside Pfizer Forum, ladies and gentlemen. Matt Schumacher alongside the three-time NBA champ Dickie Simpkins. A lot of hype in the arena tonight, Dickie. Let's take a look at our key players tonight. And for Marquette, we start with an impact transfer from the University of Maryland, Daryl Morsell.
Yeah, the transfer portal brought a special one to Marquette. The Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year last season, Daryl Morsell will be the foundation of this Marquette team defense.
On the other side, SIU returns 10 players. One of those, an offensive spark plug in Rayshon Taylor.
Put 22 points in an exhibition game. Rayshon is a super talented guard, can score at 3 levels.
Let's take a look at the starting lineups tonight, sponsored by Jeep. There's only one. Only one returner in the starting lineup for Marquette, Dickie. It will be paramount for Tyler Kolek running the point tonight to distribute the rock.
Kolek has performed well at the beginning of the season in this exhibition game. A big guard, good vision, good talent, and can shoot.
You look at that starting five for Marquette. Numerous transfers. You've got Justin Lewis returning. He is their leading returning scorer, scored less than 10 points per game last year. It will be interesting, to say the least, to see what Marquette can do this year. Thanks, Rob. For those of you tuning in to the Whip Around on FS1, welcome to Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Matt Schumacher, the three-time NBA champ Dickie Simpkins with you. Marquette in the all-white, SIU in the red. And here we go from Milwaukee. And already a whistle. Some perspiration on the court, perhaps.
It's probably still perspiration from that Milwaukee Bucks court right there from the NBA Finals back in June.
If you guys are wondering why they're playing on the Milwaukee Bucks court tonight, there was an issue with the Marquette court. They won't have the Marquette court in until December. There is Shaka Smart. We are lifting the lid on the Shaka Smart era at Marquette tonight, and so much hype surrounding his arrival in Milwaukee. We'll talk a lot about that throughout the night tonight as they continue to get the perspiration issue on the court worked out. Early timeout here, 5 seconds in.
Well, Shaka Smart's debut tonight. He's bringing that energy that he had at VCU, the energy that he had at Texas, and he's the right choice for this young Marquette team.
And a homecoming for Brian Baroni. For those of you who watched Marquette basketball in the late 90s, Brian Baroni was a captain, originally started his career at Texas A&M, finished it at Marquette, and then actually coached on Tom Crean's staff in the early 2000s. Here's a look at Brian Baroni's playing days. Look at him on the screen. Number 12 in the Marquette gold and blue. And Dickie, he said, you know, I owe so much to Marquette. He met his wife at Marquette. He said, this really feels like a homecoming for me.
Look at him looking like Tom Cruise right there in the basketball Marquette uniform. Unbelievable story. One of those stories you love. Played at Marquette, met his wife there. He is a young, up-and-coming, talented coach in college basketball.
Well, it'll be Marquette basketball. Finally have the court issue figured out. 5 seconds have ticked off the clock.
There was still some champagne left on the court from Giannis. Giannis spilling champagne after winning the finals.
Tyler Kolek running the point in number 22 in white. The Atlantic 10 Rookie of the Year last season. Out to Daryl Morsell, and the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year gets the scoring started.
Well, you have to like how the game starts for your team. You get ball movement, you get penetration, and a paint touch, which claps the defense and gets an open jump shot for Morsell.
And that early full court pressure that so many have come to expect from Shaka Smart coach teams. Brian Baroni told us it would be key for them tonight to play aggressively and attack the pressure. Taylor off the mark and tipped out of bounds and back to Marquette. It's a Marquette team that has 9 new scholarship players this year. 5 freshmen. Their freshman class ranked in the top 20 by every recruiting service out there, and then 4 transfers, including Kurt Queth right here at the top of the key from Oklahoma. Pollock out to Lewis. He knocks down a triple.
Lewis was a spectacular freshman last season. Definitely made a name for himself in the Big East. Starting off this season, showing his ability to shoot from the perimeter, which he could do last season.
SIU nearly turned it over, right. Trying to rip it down underneath, and Lewis thought he had all ball. Instead, it's a foul, and 2 shots coming. That got the fans on their feet a little bit.
Well, you can see the energy already. When I talked about Shaka Smart bringing his energy that he's had at VCU in Texas, you can see Justin Lewis right now, second efforts, multiple efforts, contesting that shot. That looked close right there, Matt.
Here is Dewan Pruitt, one of a couple of transfers for Edwardsville. Butler Community College transfer, led the team last year with 13.5 points per game, was an all-Jayhawk conference player. Matt Schumacher and the 3-time NBA champ Dickie Simpkins with you from Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Morcell off the back iron, tipped out, and it'll stay right here. Marquette basketball.
Morcell really known as a defensive player, but if you're Shaka Smart, you have to like his aggressiveness offensively because he's a veteran player. He needs to set the tone for this Marquette team.
People forget, too, he was a 1,000-point scorer at Maryland.
And that's a luxury when you have a guy that can play both sides of the court effectively at a high level.
Here's Kolek, and he was fouled on the drive. Our officials tonight, Mike Roberts, J.D. Rawls, and Tim Clougherty. Kolek sort of won the starting point guard job through the preseason. Was more of a scorer at George Mason last year. Morcell rejected. And here comes Rayshawn. And he gives it up to Courtney Carter.
Even though Rayshawn Taylor is a scorer, he does have vision. He has the ability to create for his teammates. As you saw in transition, nice simple pass for an easy score.
And a double dribble whistled against Justin Lewis. And that'll give it back to Edwardsville. This Edwardsville team is interesting, Dickie. They returned 10 players this year, but when you talk to Brian Baroni, they only played 1 game last year with a full complement of players. So many injuries and then ravaged by COVID-19. So while they are new, they also aren't with 10 players returning. It's kind of a unique dynamic in Edwardsville. How about that move from Pruitt? And just like that, a 1-point basketball game.
Pruitt, a 4-5. He can play both positions, athletic, long, showing his length right there with nice touch using the glass. But like you said, Matt, last season, everybody had to deal with COVID protocol. But the Cougars dealt with COVID, they dealt with injuries, and you mentioned how they only had 1 game with everybody. So this is like a team trying to build chemistry and hopefully don't have issues this season where they can continue to grow.
Sean Doss has just checked into the game for SIU-E. Lob pass to Queth, knocked away. Here's Taylor underneath, and with the left hand got it to go, and Edwardsville with a 1-point lead. Prosper on the deck, and he was fouled, tracking down the loose ball. If you're Brian Baroni, you gotta love this energy to come out from your Cougars. Coming off an exhibition loss to a D2 school in Quincy last week. And he said to us, Dickie, we just didn't come out with any sense of urgency. That is not the case here tonight.
Absolutely. He talked about the lesson to learn, the point of emphasis, and his sense of urgency every possession.
Prosper off the top of the backboard, hauled down by Lamar Wright.
And so far early in this game, Matt, they have a sense of urgency on both sides of the court, offensively and defensively, and their defense has created some good offensive looks.
Here's Doss elevating. Offensive rebound for Pruitt. Gives it back to Doss, and an up and under goes down.
Nice footwork by Doss. The Cougars attacking the offensive glass. I think Marquette's playing into the Cougars' hands when they come down and launch up a three that quick in the possession.
9-0 run right now for Edwardsville. And the turnaround for Lamar Wright is pure. 5-point lead for SIU-E. Lewis got tripped up. No whistle. And now a 3-on-3. Taylor. Curtis walled off. Curtis tries again. Rejected by Quett. Knocked out of bounds. And it'll stay with Edwardsville. Rayshon Taylor, partner, getting the scoring going for SIU-E.
Rayshon Taylor in transition, vision, dish off. Nice finish off the glass.
Welcome back to Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. SIU-E on top 11-6, Dickey, an 11-0 run for the Cougars as we take a look at Dickey's keys to the game tonight.
Well, Southern Illinois University Edwardsville, they have to play, they have to attack pressure, which they are doing, and they have to use their versatility, which they're using in the defensive end. And Marquette has to create closeouts offensively, which they haven't done yet. And then multiple efforts where you saw Justin Lewis give multiple efforts, got called for the block. Those are the things that are going to be the formula for success.
And interestingly, they really haven't had a lot of pressure to contend with because Marquette hasn't scored a basket in the last 3:15.
Cougars are doing the best thing they could do right now in the starting point of the game. The majority of their 11 points have been scored by defense creating offense, so they haven't had to play against a set defense of Marquette's.
Shaka Smart has put a massive emphasis on defense this year coming to Marquette, as many of you might expect. Was known for that havoc style at VCU. And then they played a version of that at Texas, and now at Marquette, they just say play violent. But it's hard to do that when you're not making shots.
Yeah, it is hard to do that. And being the first game of the season, that's something that has to be created over time. I mean, you're not going to just come out right out the bat playing that way. You have to build that mentality, build that type of culture.
Rayshon Taylor at the line. 12-0 run for the Cougars. And he knocks them both down. Missed all of last year with a right ACL tear. But Taylor was the guy when Baroni took over the head coaching job 3 years ago. A recruit out of Illinois. He was prospect 1A, 1B, and 1C. And they missed him last year. They are thrilled to have this guy in the program and playing here in 2021.
It's good to see that he's able to play this season. It looks like his ACL rehab has gone well. He has his quickness, his speed, his athleticism. He is definitely a gem that Coach Baroni is happy to see performing this season.
And now freshman Stevie Mitchell at the free throw line. Fellow freshman Cam Jones has also checked in wearing number 1. Mitchell, an original commit to Marquette. And Steve Wojciechowski was re-recruited by Shaka Smart and his staff. They flew out to re-recruit him in Pennsylvania, and he decided to stick around. Here's Sean Doss throwing it up top to Pruitt. SIU-E came to play.
The Cougars' execution and transition is at a high level right now.
Cam Jones off the back iron. Shots just not falling right now for Marquette. They've gone over 4 minutes without a field goal. And also, Iguodaro has just checked in as well for Marquette. So wholesale changes in the lineup for Shaka Smart, whose team has shot 2 for 10 from the field. Came to Marquette from Texas, and before that was at VCU, where he made that historic run with the Rams in 2011 to the Final Four. 8 total trips for Shaka Smart to the NCAA tournament.
Shaka Smart's an experienced college coach. This is the first game of the season. It's early in the game. Keeping your composure. There's a lot going on in this game. With it being his first game, when you're playing with 5 freshmen, you're playing with a bunch of newcomers. So it's going to take time for everybody to find themselves in this first half. So embrace the moment here and have poise.
Well, they've only played 1 game in this arena in front of a full crowd. That was an exhibition game against a D2 school in Bowie State. And they blew them out of the water. This is their first test as a unit against a Division I program in a game that counts. And you said it, Diggy, 9 new scholarship players as Kolek gets fouled driving to the rack. And 2 shots coming for the George Mason transfer.
And that's what Kolek provides. A heady player, has vision, very good passer. Only a freshman, well, we say another freshman
COVID
because,
freshman.
yes, he gets to carry over that freshman year. But he has a presence on the court like he's a senior.
Shaka Smart said he's been the best all-around player amongst the guards and really just won over the starting point guard role because he was the steadiest with the rock in his hands. And now Marquette can set up that full court pressure. Cutting into this SIU lead. Courtney with the turnover. Kolek through contact, and he's made the last 4 points for Marquette.
And right there, that's not a freshman move. That's not a regular freshman move. Patience, knew how to draw contact, absorb the contact, and still able to get it on the glass and finish.
Sean Doss stepped out of bounds before he launched the 3, and a turnover gives it back to Marquette. Just the second turnover for the Cougars. They've executed really well on the road in a packed house. Only 1 player on their team has been to Pfizer Forum. That was Sean Doss. As Kolek kicks it out, Lewis a bit heavy and gives it back to Edwardsville.
Yeah, the Cougars have executed, and you have to say that coaches Baroni's talked with them after the loss in the exhibition game about that sense of urgency, again, is reflecting in this first half so far.
Courtney Carter struggling a little bit handling the basketball. Wright gets it back out to Carlos Curtis. Curtis with 9. Doss spinning. And off the side of the rim.
Now the Golden Eagles are making things happen off their defense.
Kolek on the step back just off the mark. And it could not be saved by Marquette's Olivier Maxence Prosper, and it goes back to Edwardsville.
I know Kolek can make shots. That was a heat check. If I'm Coach Shaka Smart, probably want to see, we got a good defensive stop. Let's get a paint touch before we shoot a 3 that early in the possession.
They shot 43 threes in their exhibition game against Bowie State. A lot of that had to do with the fact that they were just open looks, but certainly Shaka Smart brings with him an offense that is reliant on good three-point shooting.
Yeah, it's not about hunting for three-point shots. It's about getting good three-point shots. And if the defense dictates you getting three-point shot opportunities, but then by all means, you need to take that shot. But that last possession with Kolek taking it early in the possession on a step back, a James Harden or a Luka Doncic step back, I don't know about that one. But I get it, still first half. He's been aggressive the last couple of plays going to the basket, so I can understand.
And Shamar Wright going over the top of Omax Prosper. The first field goal in the last 2.5 minutes for the Cougars. Prosper down to Iguodaro, tipped away. Prosper, right place, right time, hammers it home.
You can say that again. Being alert. As you see the defense now, that's that Shaka Smart style full court defense coming up the steals.
Iguodaro offensive board and puts it off the glass.
And the coaching staff has been very pleased with Iguodaro. He's come back more improved from last season. Confidence, swag, still needs to continue to get stronger. Look, he's showing his intensity right now, using his length on defense.
2 turnovers in the last 3 possessions for the Cougars, and it's back to Marquette. They trail by 2, a tight one early in Milwaukee. Welcome back to FS2 College Hoops, sponsored by Jeep. There's only one. Back to a 2-point game. Marquette trailing 17-15 midway through the first half. Matt Schumacher, Dickie Simpkins with you. We told you Marquette has a very new roster. They're replacing 82% of their scoring from last year.
Yeah, that's a tremendous transition right there. When you're a coach coming in, taking over, you have 5 freshmen. Not a lot of teams are having that many freshmen on their roster.
But in the Big East, we're seeing a lot of it as Morcell ties it up with a 2-hand jam. Creighton has 5 freshmen. Georgetown has 5 freshmen. Bit of a youth movement in the Big East this year, which is kind of surprising given the fact that all these guys had an extra year of eligibility due to COVID-19 as Wright puts it back on the tip in.
And what you want to do as a college coach these days is you want to find a good balance of college transfers. Hopefully 1 or 2 of those guys can be graduate transfers so they have so much experience, and blend it in with young guys.
2 free throws.
2 free throws coming for the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year last season, Daryl Morcell, out of the University of Maryland. Decided to make a change. Was contacted by Shaka Smart, and he just fits. Shaka Smart, and we'll talk about this throughout the broadcast, he's a gritty guy. You just get that sense from him. Daryl Morcell embodies everything Shaka Smart wants this Marquette program to be on the floor.
Yeah, he definitely embodies Shaka Smart's defensive philosophy, but most importantly, the reason why he does is because of his defensive versatility. He's a multiple position defender. He can guard guards, he can guard all the way up to big forwards and bigs, and he has the athleticism to move around quick in the passing lane.
Smart said there's just a nastiness to Daryl Morcell. All up in your grill all the time. That time it was Kolek creating the turnover. And Morcell trying to get it to him, and a kick called on Dewan Pruitt. And it'll stay with Marquette.
Well, whenever you're going to be a defensive player of the year in any league, whether it's college basketball, whether it's your Big East Conference, Big Ten Conference, whether it's the NBA, you have to have a certain level of tenacity, toughness, a focus defensively, defensive basketball IQ. Morcell has all that. Or you're an elite shot blocker, and where you still have to have some level of intensity and energy and motor.
And Shaka's got both of those guys on his roster, Morcell and then Kirk Queth, who was the 3rd leading shot blocker in the Big 12 last year at Oklahoma. He is not in the game right now, though. And a foul on Kolek. He tried to get in to the passing lane there and instead caught Lamar Wright on the wrist.
And so now, in the early part of the game, when the Cougars were scoring in transition, they were stopping Marquette and letting their defense help score offense. Now, Marquette is able to change the momentum because they can set up their defense.
And Polk stepped out of bounds. And gives it right back to Marquette. That's the 5th turnover of the first half. Make it the 6th for Edwardsville. You surprised at all right now by the score?
No, I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. I mean, you have to think we just showed the roster turnover for Marquette. They're getting used to each other, figuring out their fit. As you see, Iguodala with a nice touch move. That's where he's improved. He's more aggressive. He's more confident. He's displaying that talent and touch that he has in his game.
Only played 38 minutes last year. Sat out the last 9 games of the season with a foot injury. But Shaka Smart said they'd utilize him a lot more than Marquette fans saw him on the floor last year.
Well, he wasn't fully ready last season. He had to play because they had a team that was scarce. But he wasn't ready physically as a freshman. He wasn't ready as far as his confidence as a freshman, where Justin Lewis, Garcia, who transferred out, those guys were advanced physically, confidence-wise, and mentally, where they impacted the game as freshmen.
Now Kirkweff checking back in. The 6'10" transfer from Oklahoma with a 7'5" wingspan. 3 seconds on the shot clock. Polk inbounding for Edwardsville. Taylor. In, out, and back in for Taylor.
And that's what he can do, that speed, quickness, athleticism. He kind of has that wiggle, that herky-jerky little offense.
Morcell for 3. That's his second. And Marquette regains the lead.
When you have a player that's a defensive presence, but also can provide offense, you can't get any better than that.
Another turnover, the 7th for SIU-E. Morcell short and tracked down by Wright. Taylor, right past Omax Prosper. 8 points for Taylor to lead all Edwardsville scores. And a blocking foul underneath. Well, now they've reversed the call. Lamar Wright drew a charge, and you can hear the boos ringing throughout Pfizer Forum. Fans wanted a block on that one, and instead the foul goes against Marquette, as you see David Joplin checking in. One of the 5 freshmen for Shaka Smart, and he's one of 3 commitments for Shaka while at Texas to make the move over to Marquette with him. Taylor weaving through the defense.
Marquette has to figure out how do they contain Taylor. He's the motor to this Southern Illinois University Edwardsville team.
And a foul off the ball gives it right back to Marquette. Let me ask you this, Dickie. You played in the Big East, played at Providence. You think it's more difficult for a team with all these new guys defensively, given the schemes that Shaka Smart runs, or do you think it's more difficult on the offensive end?
I think it's difficult. It's difficult on both sides.
Yeah.
But if it's more difficult defensively, because those are the principles that you want your team to really buy into. Offensively, right? Anybody can buy into offense, right? Because it's about scoring, it's about shooting. But I would give the edge to it's more difficult with new guys defensively, because you got to get the timing and the trust.
Prosper rattles home a triple. Marquette letting them fly from downtown tonight. That's the 5th. And they're shooting over 35% from distance. Kolick, great defense, and forces another Edwardsville turnover. That's the 9th. Tyler Kolick defensively.
You know, nothing about Tyler Kolick looks like athletic. You're going to be this. Oh, look at the vision. That's what I was talking about. Unbelievable vision right there on that pick and roll. They call it pocket pass. Back in my day, it was just a drop pass. But he threaded the needle with that pass.
Marquette on a 5-0 run. It's out of bounds and back to the Golden Eagles. Rayshon Taylor trying to keep SIU-E in it. He leads the Cougars with 8 points. But on the other side for Marquette, Tyler Kolick making things happen on offense. Welcome back to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Opening night in the Big East and opening night for the Marquette Golden Eagles on top of SIU-E 28-23. It's the start of a new era, Dickie, in Milwaukee. The Shaka Smart era began his head coaching career at VCU, led the Rams all the way to the Final Four, took Texas to a handful of NCAA tournaments, and now has ended up back in his home state of Wisconsin. He grew up in Oregon, Wisconsin, just 90 miles west of Milwaukee.
Shaka Smart has built a culture at all his stops. VCU, that intensity defensively. Texas carrying it over there. The development with the young players they had to move on to the NBA. And he's the right choice to be able to get this Golden Eagles program going.
Joplin in and out, picked up by Kolek. He's been all over the place, dishing the rock, picking up rebounds, forcing turnovers. And now Olmecs Prosper. Under 10 to shoot. Shot clock reset for Kolek. Out for another three. Cam Jones off the mark and out of bounds. It'll stay with Marquette.
Well, for the viewers that are watching this game, this is the reason why Kolek won the starting position. That possession right there, he touched the ball about 4 or 5 times and made plays for his team. Whether it was a rebound, a pass, a rebound and a pass, just seeing and looking at vision.
Here he is baseline, trying to throw it up to Quett, who somehow corralled it and had the presence of mind to go right back up.
And the momentum of this game changed with Marquette's defense, this full-court defense, and Kolek being aggressive and finishing.
Quett with a massive rejection, stopping Jonathan Curtis underneath. It'll stay right here. Watch out for the big fella.
Hey, right there. That is what I'm talking about right there. Going up using that length, that athleticism, that pursuit for pinning that block shot. Hashtag security.
Third leading shot blocker, rather, in the Big Ten last year. And Shaka Smart actually played against him, right? Because Shaka was coaching at Texas. Quett was at Oklahoma. And Shaka said, I used to hate playing Quett and was happy when Oklahoma would take him out of the game because it meant easier shots for my offense. It doesn't get much easier than that. Quett hammering it down.
Quett blocking shots at one end, and Kolek rewarding them on the other end with the nice pick and roll lob.
Kolek going for the turnover. He's whistled for the foul. That's the second on Kolek.
When you talk about establishing your defensive philosophy, your defensive presence, and you have Quett and you have Dorsal, that's a good foundation defense. Look at this. Traditional pick and roll, and you have a point guard who can share the ball. I'm telling you right there, that makes your bigs play with even more energy, wanting to block more shots, so you have to reward the big fella.
Early in this game, SIU-E was leading points in the paint by a substantial margin. Marquette now has the lead in that as a triple goes down for Curtis, and it's back to a 3-point game.
Well, that was good hustle. That was Curtis to Curtis. Curtis with the hustle on the offensive boards and tapping it out to Carlos Curtis.
Joplin in and out. High arcing pass to Sean Doss, who makes a smart play and lays it in. Marquette fans may remember him at Arkansas Pine Bluff last year. He came into this building and dropped 27 against Marquette in November of last year. Quett off the front end. And finally corralled by Taylor. He wants to push the pace. Double. Gives it up to Doss. Beats the shot clock by a second on a pretty teardrop from the transfer.
Doss with excellent body control, nice touch to get it over the big fella and keep it from being blocked.
A game of runs here in the first half. SIU on an 8-0 run to take a 1-point lead. 64% from the floor for Brian Baroni's club. Welcome to everybody tuning in on our special Big East opening night FS1 tip around. A tight contest here with 4:30 left in the first half between Marquette and SIU-E. Opening night in the Big East. Matt Schumacher, three-time NBA champ Dickie Simpkins with you. Late in the shot clock again for Edwardsville. And Queth goes up and rips down a tough board. Here comes Daryl Morsell. And an offensive foul against Morsell. And Brian Baroni is animated on the Edwardsville sideline.
Well, he has his players stepping up. Rayshon Taylor being effective offensively, but giving up his body for the team and taking that offensive charge.
Dickie, this does not look like a team that lost to a D2 squad 4 days ago, which is exactly what happened to SIU-E. They lost 63-62 to Quincy at home. Brian Baroni said we just had no urgency whatsoever. They've come with it tonight in Milwaukee.
Well, Coach Baroni talked about after they lost that game in the press conference how he owned having to make sure his guys performed and had a sense of urgency on every possession. Well, that talk must have went well the next day of practice.
There's Stevie Mitchell left open, and Mitchell knocks it down from 15 feet.
Well, you got to like that when your freshman is coming down court under control, sees a nice opening in mid-range, shooting it with confidence.
And the pressure gets to Curtis, a turnover. That is the 10th for SIU-E. Cougars hanging tough. But on the other side, lob it up to the big fella. Kirk Queth hammering it down. Oh, it is so good to have fans back in the building. Packed house at Pfizer Forum and a 1-point lead for Marquette. 3:43 left in the first half. And a homecoming for SIU-E head coach Brian Baroni. He played at Marquette. He was on the coaching staff with Tom Crean, and the old ball coach giving him some love today on Twitter.
Yeah, you have to really like that. You have to like Coach Green, showing love to his former player, former staff. You gotta love it, man. And I know we talked to Coach Baroni, and you know him coming back home, coming back to where he met his wife. He played. The emotions of that, he said, you can't avoid the emotions of that, but you have to be reeled in on what it's all about at the end of the day.
There's Doss in transition. Doss. And the pull-up is good.
Doss has that little fadeaway in the paint. He's getting a lot of paint touches with the fadeaway. Nice game after only having 2 points in the exhibition game.
And tonight in the first half, he's got 8 points on 4 of 6 in just 11 minutes. Here's Morsell. And the rebound hauled in by Polk. And here comes Rayshon Taylor. 1-point lead for SIU-E.
I really like how the Cougars are using their versatility to gang rebound.
Mattis just checking in, foul on the floor. I want to go back to a point you made about Baroni making his homecoming and kind of the emotions of it. He said to us, Dickie, I want experiences like this for our guys because this is the vision I have for our program going forward, competing against the best of the best in college basketball. Coming up on the Jeep Halftime Report, Marquette team history, first half highlights and analysis. Rob Stone, Steve Lavin, Bill Raftery, and Jim Jackson in the studio in LA, providing you 3 hours of whip-around coverage on Big East opening night. Man, it's good to be back, isn't it, partner?
Oh, man, it feels great to be back for college basketball. But to your point where you talked about Coach Baroni coming back home, I mean, it's always emotional as a player when you're playing, when you come back to somewhere you used to play at, or as a coach, you come back to where you used to coach or you used to play. There's always this emotion, and it can either go one way or another. And that's why you have to embrace the emotions early in the game, and then you have to kind of bring yourself back down.
Both teams in the bonus, shooting free throws the rest of the way. SIU-Edwardsville 1-1. We talked about him a little bit, just really growing this offseason, Dick. He wasn't necessarily ready to go as a freshman. Only played 38 minutes last year and then had that injury that sidelined him for the last 9 games. But this staff, and Shaka Smart in particular, really high on this freshman.
Well, the one thing you can see the muscle he has added. He can still continue to get stronger. But I know coming in as a freshman in the Big East, as you see the steal right here, and the dunk by Prosper. Omax playing above the rim. But I know coming in as a freshman, I weighed like 220 pounds. And after my freshman year, I was 245. But when you gain that muscle and that strength and you spend your off season and you come back stronger, that increases your confidence for sure.
What were you eating?
No. I was like, man, I remember it's Coach Sean Brown. He would put like 20 plates on the leg press machine. Man, it was crazy.
So you were just eating the weights.
Eating the weights.
Stevie Mitchell lost the handle. He's kept it 15 on the timer. Here's Morcell. Up and under and rolls it home. And Morcell now in double figures with 11.
Well, that was a good job by Mitchell to regain his ball handling and then have the ability to make a play to Morcell. And you see the defense here.
Picked off by Iguodaro. And Morcell, a second chance. Now Mitchell from straight away. Marquette, we know they like to take a lot of threes. They've taken 18 of them so far tonight. But they haven't exactly been efficient from downtown, Dickie. Just 4 of 18.
Yeah, they weren't that efficient in the exhibition game. Struggling to make threes now. That's something that's going to have to come along as the season goes, improving their accuracy from behind the arc. But defensively, as you saw Iguodaro using his length, that's the luxury of having bigs that have length and athleticism, playing those passing lanes.
It's the Marquette team that was picked 9th in the Big East preseason poll. But Daryl Morcell said that's a joke. There's too much talent on this team, and defensively, we're going to be really strong this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't get caught into the preseason poll. I know if you're in the top 5 or your top 3, you love to see your name or your team name there. But if anything, you use that to motivate you throughout the season.
Turnover gives it back to Marquette. Final 67 seconds of the first half coming your way right after this. From Milwaukee. 39-36 lead for Marquette. 67 seconds left. Southern Illinois Edwardsville has come to play tonight. And they are giving Marquette everything they can handle in this first half.
Well, both teams have changed the momentum back and forth. It's seesaw through this game. Marquette has done it with the Shaka Smart style defense. And the Cougars have done it with their energy, staying focused, attacking in transition.
Courtney Carter tried to loft it in. And a foul is called against Marquette. And I believe that'll go against Daryl Morcell. Indeed it will. And that is his second personal and the team's 10th of the half. Free throws coming for Southern Illinois.
When you're looking at Southern Illinois, they're only down by 3. And they've only made 1 3-point shot.
Just somehow hung around in this first half. There's been many points in this first half where SIU-E has been up a couple of points.
Well, they've been attacking in transition, which helps them shoot a 60% field goal percentage, even only shooting 33% from the 3, only taking 3 threes and only being down 3 points.
Golick on the drive. And now here comes Shamar Wright. 3-on-2. Final 45 seconds of the first half. SIU can tie with a triple. 5 to shoot. And a whistle underneath. 3-second violation against SIU, and it goes back to Marquette.
Yeah, Jonathan Curtis set up his tent, his campfire, his marshmallows. He was in the paint too long, and I get he's trying to establish himself and get the guards that throwing the ball. But you, as a big, you have to know when to step into the paint, show big, to make sure the guards have vision at the time you're stepping in. You don't want to stay and camp in the paint too long.
About a 2-second differential between game and shot. Tyler Kolek runs the point for Marquette. 7 assists already in the first half for the A-10 Rookie of the Year last season. 10 to shoot for the Golden Eagles.
This should be ball screen. Justin and Kolek, there you go.
3 to shoot. Got to get it up, and Marquette could not. It's a double dribble. And it goes against Justin Lewis, so 3.3 left for SIU to potentially get a shot up here. Good defense by the Cougars, trapping on the ball screen, making Kolek give the ball up. The rotation was quick and made Justin hesitate on the three-point shot. Carlos Curtis inbounding. Gives it up to Courtney Carter. Baseline drive, and Carter beats the buzzer. SIU down 1 on the road.
When you're pressing the ball, you never wanted to get momentum going downhill.
Stay tuned for the Jeep halftime report after the break with Rob Stone, Steve Lavin, Bill Raftery, and Jim Jackson. Marquette on top by 1 at the half in Milwaukee. (39-38) lead for Marquette at the half here in Milwaukee. As we take a look at the first half stats, brought to you by Jeep. There's only one. Dickey's got the telestrator out, folks. Watch out.
Well, this is why the Cougars have that score, and this is why Marquette has that score. The field goal percentage of the Cougars and the points off turnovers for the Golden Eagles.
Offensively, the Golden Eagles have gotten good production from Daryl Morcell and Tyler Kolek.
The defensive specialist showing his offensive abilities with the kick-out knockdown 3, and then his athleticism, quickness up to the rim. And again, you can't count out a defensive player who can also provide some offense.
11 points for him in just 14 minutes. And how about Kolek doing it really in a bunch of different ways? Great hustle in the first half.
Yeah, he's hustling, he's flying all over the court, but most importantly, he's sharing the ball. Early Christmas presents right there, giving it to the big. 7 strong assists.
Kolek was 7 assists in the first half. He had 7 in the whole game against Bowie State the other night in that exhibition contest here at Pfizer Forum. And then on the other side for SIU, look, this was a team that was not expected to contend with Marquette. We'll see what happens in the second half, but Sean Doss has been a big contributor tonight.
They need Sean Doss's scoring, and right now he's providing with first half 8 points. You saw his explosive performances last season against the Marquette and the Baylor team.
They had 25 and 10 against Baylor, the ultimate national champions. And a 3-point shot goes down for SIU. And the Cougars start the second half with a lead. This is an Edwardsville team that returns 10 players from their roster a season ago, but they only played 1 game last year with the full complement of players, done with a lot of injuries. Meanwhile, Justin Lewis gets Marquette on the board to start the second half.
And after having a very good freshman campaign his sophomore season, this is Justin Lewis is who we needed to see more of in the first half. He was very quiet. And let's see what he does. He's starting off the second half. As you see, Rayshon Taylor using his speed, quickness, and his strength. Matt, Rayshon Taylor's only 6'1", but plays strong, uses his athleticism and his quickness. In the exhibition game, 22 points and a 6'1" guard grabbing 11 boards.
Was All-State in Illinois and a Mr. Illinois basketball finalist, 2,100 career points. And the school record at Collinsville High School. Misses the N1 opportunity and then a foul on the floor. And that goes against Kirk Queth, much to his dismay. And it'll stay right here for the Cougars.
Well, I like how Justin Lewis stepped up right there, trying to show some leadership, talking to Queth, say, hey, shut your mouth. Look, it's a call. We're going to get it back on defense. And we talked to Coach Shaka Smart earlier today. He talked about continuing to try to find a leader for this team.
Lamar Wright rising and drawing 2 shots. Yeah, to your point, we asked him, you know, Coach, with 9 new scholarship players, only 3 returners, do you have an alpha leader? He said, no, quite frankly, we don't yet. Leadership by committee at this point in the year.
And that's what you get when you have a team that's young, and you have a lot of newcomers. Who's going to step up and be that leader? And he talked to us about the retreat they went on to Chicago.
I knew you would bring this up.
How did you know I was going to bring this up?
They, on their retreat, they watched a 20-minute clip from the Last Dance documentary, which my man Dickie Simpkins was in, 3-time NBA champ with the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, and part of that retreat, as you see, Dorsal using that veteran presence, knowing how to play, the hesitation dribble with the left, and his strength to get to the basket and draw the foul for the chance for a 3-point play. Hey, the Last Dance, man. I didn't. Did he say something about the Last Dance?
Yes, he did.
Oh, I didn't even. Oh, okay. But no, he was trying to establish. He knows that he needs to find a leader. They go on a retreat. Let's watch some clips of the Last Dance so you can see leadership skills from Michael Jordan, and you guys can understand what it takes. And, you know, being a leader comes from the top, so Shaka Smart has to show that leadership presence. Then you want it to trickle down to a player who can handle leading his team, uncomfortable conversations, and holding his teammates accountable.
That last free throw by Daryl Morcell gives him 14. That's a game high. Yeah, you talk about it starting from the top down. As Rayshon Taylor goes to the cup, rejected and in the hands of Omax Prosper. Daryl Morcell said he's never seen a coach get down and do bear crawls with his team. That's exactly what Shaka Smart did as Morcell rips down the rim. He has 16 points. And he said, listen, Shaka Smart has total buy-in from our guys because he's fully engaged with our team. Meanwhile, Rayshon Taylor a bit banged up after that drive, limping off the floor. He's the guy who last year missed all of the season with a right ACL tear. Here's another look at it.
Yeah, he hit the floor hard on his hip. He hit the floor hard on his hip. But going back to Shaka Smart, doing a big crawl, he talked about the conventional ways to get your team to understand and the unconventional. Him getting down so they can see him actually in action.
Lewis through contact, no. Tip out. And now Stevie Mitchell has it poked away. But a foul on the floor before SIU-E could get their hands on it. It'll stay right here.
Well, that possession played into Marquette's hand. They get the offensive tap back out, and then it goes to Mitchell. And one of the things that Coach Smart loves to see of his team is his team creating closeouts. And what I mean by creating closeouts, you want to make the opponent have to keep chasing out on a guy with the ball, and now he can go off the bounce and blow by, make another person commit, and you can get an open shot.
There's Justin Lewis, the leading returning scorer for Marquette from last season. He draws a foul, and 2 shots coming.
It reminds me of one of my former teammates, Eric Williams, that played in the NBA for a long time, was drafted by the Boston Celtics, was on our team when we won the Big East championship. You know, that 6'7" guy that just has a knack for scoring. Doesn't necessarily look that athletic, but has a adequate amount of athleticism to help him be effective around the basket. He gives me that kind of flavor. More of a scoring the paint guy, but can stretch also to the perimeter jump shot.
There's certainly some NBA prospect buzz, anyway, around Justin Lewis. Still young and still with a lot of development to go, according to Shaka Smart, but has really progressed so far in his ability to play harder for longer. And that's his next area of improvement, according to the head coach.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be, like you said, more consistent, doing it all the time, going longer spurts. And that's going to be a big key. How do you transition from your freshman year where you played well and have that sensational sophomore campaign?
D1 Pruitt fouled on the drive. SIU underneath with 20 on the timer. And now out to Pruitt. Cougars have shot 58% from the floor. Foul underneath. That goes against Iguodaro. There have been a lot of off-the-ball fouls tonight on Marquette.
And Marquette has to get better in that area. When you're off the ball, you need to be in between your man and where the ball is. You need to use your quickness and speed. And that was just Curtis being physical, getting post-up position. A lot of guys flying all over the place right now.
And that was an offensive foul against Sean Doss. No, check that. It goes against Courtney Carter. And that's the reason for his displeasure. Our officiating crew tonight, Mike Roberts, J.D. Rawls, and Tim Clougherty. And Courtney Carter will head to the bench. 5 fouls already for Marquette in this half and 4 for SIU-E. Teams keep this up. We'll be shooting free throws for the final 10 minutes of the half. Lewis got tied up. Possession arrow stays with Marquette.
Well, I like how Marquette tried to, well, they didn't try. They accomplished developing a mismatch. Lewis on Rashawn Taylor, but the Cougars did an excellent job recovering and dropping down to help defense. They called a jump ball.
Well, now the officials are getting together. One official called a jump ball. The other said there was a foul, and now they will stick with the original call of jump ball. And thus it'll stay with Marquette, 18 on the shot clock.
I love to see when guys count on their coworkers. Count on your coworkers. Teamwork.
4-point basketball game. Here is Omax Prosper. Through contact. Second opportunity. Went off his knee and back to SIU-E.
I like the aggressiveness. I like the attack to the basket. And he's going to start finishing that more. I mean, his physical structure, another piece to this defense with his size and length, his mobility.
There is Rashawn Taylor, who's checked back in after he limped off the floor a couple of minutes ago. Draws a foul at midcourt. That's the 6th.
You can look at Rashawn Taylor, how he's knifing and navigating through the defense. But he's had a presence from the time the ball tipped that he was going to be aggressive attacking this defense.
10 points for Taylor tonight. Rebound was hauled in by Justin Lewis. Marcel on the shuffle pass. In and out. Second chance for Stevie Mitchell. Right to the cup and lays it in.
That's what you want to see with your freshman.
9-0 run for Marquette. The fans starting to get back into it here at Fiserv Forum.
Hustle plays by Mitchell. Offensive rebound. Put back.
Doss responds with a left hand and stops a 9-0 run for Marquette.
Good pass by Jonathan Curtis. When you have a big that has the ability to pass.
Iguodaro kept it alive. Lewis on the baseline. Hammer time.
And that is the spectacular plays that he was having flashes of last season. That's what you want to see more of this season. Nice aggressive baseline, a nice inside-out move with a finish.
9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, and an assist to boot for Lewis. 6-point lead for Marquette. Here's Taylor. Doss with the extra pass. And an air ball from Pruitt, and now Morcell wants to push the pace. Cam Jones rattles home a triple. Marquette has not shot it great from downtown tonight, just 5 of 20, but that's a big one from Jones.
Well, I know Cam Jones, when he committed to Marquette, they were real excited about his talent. He could definitely score the ball, and he's not shy about any shot.
Carlos Curtis driving and draws a foul on Cam Jones. That's the 7th foul in the first half for Marquette. Starting to heat up a little bit offensively. Stevie Mitchell to the cup. Welcome back to FS2 College Hoops, sponsored by Jeep. There's only one. This Veterans Day, Fox Sports proudly salutes and supports our nation's military heroes and the organizations that serve them. Purple Heart Homes is a nationwide nonprofit providing housing solutions for service-connected, disabled, and aging veterans. For more information on how you can provide much-needed assistance to veterans of all eras, visit purplehearthomesusa.org. Matt Schumacher and the 3-time NBA champ Dickie Simpkins with you. 15-10 left in the second half. Marquette starting to pull away a little bit here. 15-0 run over the last minute, rather 5-0 run over the last minute and 26 seconds for Marquette. This is their largest lead of the night. What have you seen from them differently, Dickie, over this first 5 minutes or so in the second half?
Well, it seems like they're a little bit even more locked in than they were in the first half defensively as a team. Then you have Justin Lewis stepping up, being more aggressive, involved. And then you have your freshman contributing in the second half, which has been good. You can see the Cougars showing a little full court pressure here, switching it up, using their quickness and speed.
Picked off by Taylor. And he'll go coast to coast with it. Second chance, no. Carlos Curtis on the third opportunity draws a foul. And 2 shots coming again for SIU-E.
Well, the Golden Eagles getting a taste of their medicine with the Cougars showing a full court or 3/4 court press that resulted in them turning the ball over. So if you're going to be the team that forces teams to turn over, you have to be able to handle when they're putting the pressure on you.
Only 7 turnovers tonight for Marquette. I think the bigger storyline, though, here, Dickie, 8 fouls in the second half already for Marquette. Curtis knocks down the second. Back to a 2-possession game. And now some full court pressure from SIU-E.
One thing you like about the Cougars, they can switch on defense pretty much at every position on the court.
Stevie Mitchell on the crossover, rejected by Curtis. Mitchell stayed with it. It was Wright coming over to knock it away. I believe there was either a foul on the floor or they counted the basket. And they did count the basket. 2 points for Stevie Mitchell. Here's Carlos Curtis. 5 to shoot for SIU-E, and a foul goes against Cam Jones. And that is his 4th foul. Foul trouble starting to become an issue for Marquette. Prosper with 3, Kolick with 3, and now Jones with 4 fouls.
Those are the growing pains that you have to deal with freshmen. Either you're dealing with the growing pains offensively where they may take ill-advised shots, or you're dealing with the growing pains defensively where they foul too much. You have to be able to play without foul.
Doss now with 11. Caught fire in this building last November while playing for University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Had 27 points against Marquette. And head coach Baroni said he's the only one of us, staff included, who's actually ever stepped foot in the Pfizer Forum building, let alone score 27 points.
Right.
There's Morcell left open. Knocks down a 3, dead away. And Morcell has 19.
I'm pretty impressed with Morcell and what he's bringing to this Marquette team with his veteran presence.
Largest lead of the night for Marquette. Right, second chance, no. Tipped around right for a third opportunity, and the baby hook goes.
Good hustle. Nice reaction. Repeat jumps. Staying with it.
Morcell fouled as he lost the handle on the drive. And it goes against Rayshon Taylor.
Lamar Wright just being active, using his energy in there, keeping offensive rebounds alive.
Welcome those of you joining us on FS1, the Big East opening night whip around. Fouls have become a major storyline in this game. 3 Marquette Eagles with 3 or more fouls, including Prosper playing with 3. He's rejected on the drive. And here comes Sean Doss. Jump down to Curtis, and an offensive foul, this time against the Cougars. And it goes against Jonathan Curtis.
Jonathan Curtis is just trying to do everything he can to establish some post position. He's only a freshman. He has to continue to grow in that post-up feel of how to keep the man in front and behind him and have clear space to receive that ball.
You talked about your bulk-up journey when you first got to Providence. He's in the middle of that right now at SIU-E. He came in at 6'10", 225 pounds generously. He's put on 15 pounds since getting to campus.
And not many teams are playing with traditional post-up bigs.
Stevie Mitchell from the corner. That's a 3. And Marquette stretching out the lead to 11.
The freshman is showing up today. He's showing up and showing out right now with his performance.
10 points in just 13 minutes for Mitchell.
And one of the biggest things, he's added 4 assists in this game.
Marquette has assisted on 16 of their 24 made field goals. Really struggled in the first half to shoot from downtown. They were just 4 of 18. But in this half, they are 3 for 4 from distance.
And you see the Golden Eagles playing right now with 2 point guards on the court, Mitchell and Kolick. One's a true freshman, one's an extra year freshman.
And an offensive foul. That goes against Lamar Wright. And that is the 4th on him. So now 2 Cougars with 4 fouls. Courtney Carter and Lamar Wright.
And Lamar Wright is a little frustrated right now. I don't know if he didn't think that was a foul, but he ran right through. He ran right through the defender like he was busting through the offensive line for the sack.
Made me think of Shaka Smart's saying play violent. We asked him where that came from. He said football.
Yeah.
Which is funny because he never played football growing up. He begged his mom to let him play. She wouldn't. Played soccer all through high school, but he's a big football fan. And he said it's really born out of that, just going after the ball with tenacity every play.
Well, Lamar Wright played right there. That play was playing with violence. Right? Playing violent. I don't want to say playing with violence, but he was playing violent right there. Which doesn't mean violence. It's playing with a certain physicality.
That was the wrong type of violence, though.
Yeah. He didn't need that at that moment right there.
65-52 Marquette. 12 minutes left in the ball game. Courtney Carter playing with 4 fouls on a kick out to Taylor. Pruitt fighting for the rebound, and it'll stay with SIU-E. Lamar Wright playing hard for SIU-E. He's on the bench with 4 fouls now, though. On the other side, it's the freshman Stevie Mitchell. 12 points in 14 minutes. Back at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on Big East opening night, 65-52 Marquette, as we take you inside the huddle with first-year head coach Shaka Smart.
They're trying to rip and drive us baseline, okay? I'm not saying give them middle, but we can't allow them to drive and rip us baseline. If they do, this is drill we do every day in practice. Meet them outside the lane and rotate.
And you got to love it. He doesn't want to give middle, but you have to be able to defend both. Just don't let a guy rip. And when you mean rip, you mean left to right knee, ripping it through the defender, trying to drive baseline. But the most important thing, you heard him, Matt. He said this is a drill we do every day. You have this young team. You have a lot of transfers. And it's going to just take a little bit of time for that repetition to become instinct.
Well, we know Shaka Smart loves defense. Since the 2011-2012 season, Smart's teams have finished in the top 40 of the defensive efficiency rankings, according to Ken Powell. That's pretty good. And that's an area that Marquette really needed to improve on. They ranked 8th or worse in the Big East in terms of defensive efficiency 4 out of the last 5 seasons. I have a feeling, partner, that's going to change this year.
Well, if you're going to be a player that's going to play for Shaka Smart, you better come with energy, you better have a motor, you better have some athleticism and quickness, and you gotta have a desire to want to be a team defender and be an individual defender and do your job.
A foul means we are headed to the free throw line. Marquette has had issues all night long with fouls. They had 10 in the first half. They already have 10 here in the second half, and still 11:44 to go. And this is what you don't want if you're a Marquette fan. SIU-E at the line with the clock stopped, and Shamar Wright makes the first.
I want to go back to what I just said about if you want to be a player playing for Shaka Smart from a defensive standpoint. I don't want potential players that may think about Marquette to get it wrong, like, oh, it's all about defense, because I know the mentality of this generation is all about offense. He rewards for playing defense, allowing his guys to play offense and have a free, open mind and confidence. You can see Mitchell as a freshman, he's out here playing with a clear, open mind with confidence offensively. But I always say it's a price to pay. You want to have freedom offensively. You want to be able to shoot threes, and then you're going to have to do it on the defensive end too.
Fourth personal on Rayshawn Taylor, their star-studded freshman. He exits the ball game. 10 points in 20 minutes for Taylor.
Sorry about that. That is a tough hit right there, because you still have over 11 minutes left in this game, and now you have to sit him on the sideline. And if you're Coach Baroni, the question is, how long does he sit over you?
18 fouls now for SIU-E. Ball ricochets out of bounds, but it's off Iguodaro, and it stays with SIU-E. How long would you keep him on the bench?
Rayshawn, hey, go back in the game right now, man. Go back. We're down 11.
Switch offense, defense.
We're down 11, and if you don't want this to get away from you.
Desmond Polk off the back iron, tipped around by Pruitt. Corralled underneath by Carlos Curtis. Iguodaro wrestled to the floor, and Pruitt wins it back for SIU-E.
And that's just 50-50 balls right there. You have college basketball, college coaches keep stats of who wins the 50-50 battle. And right here, the Cougars just showing toughness, getting in, scrumming.
Well, Pruitt is just a beast. 6'8", 230-pound redshirt freshman from Sacramento, and now the officials will go to the monitor They are going to take another look at this play that led to Iguodala winding up on the hardwood. Here's another look at it.
Well, it started off as hustle, 2 players hustling for the rebound, and then it went into, after the hustle, a lot of extra energy.
Kind of tough to see on that angle whether or not Pruitt maybe a little bit extracurricular activity after the whistle was blown.
It looked like a little bit of extracurricular, but I wouldn't say that that was malicious. I don't think it was any intent to hurt. A little extra because of the scrum and the battle which happens in a game. I'm sorry, man. I would say just play on, but if you feel like you have to give something, then maybe a flagrant 1. But right now you just have 2 guys hustling. He's trying to get that ball established. It's just a little extra. Definitely a little extra.
To me, it doesn't look like he extends the arms to shove Iguodala to the ground, and we have official confirmation of that. No flagrant is given to Pruitt. And that's good because he's one of just a couple of guys that is not in foul trouble at the moment for SIU.
Well, I think that was a good job by the officials. They had 6 eyes over there on the monitor screen, so I think they made the right decision.
How about that play from Tyler Kolek? And Lewis the other way. Finger roll, no. Tip in, yes. Tyler Kolek has done it on both sides of the floor, Dickey, turning defense to offense that time.
Just getting his hands on the ball. Coach Shaka Smart likes to preach getting 32 or more deflections a game. Getting a hand on it. Justin Lewis showing his ball handling skill set to handle in transition, under control, and finish.
And now Kirk Queth will check back in for Marquette. Turnovers starting to catch up with SIU-E here. That last one, the 20th of the night. Point lead for Marquette, their largest of the evening here against SIU-E. Lewis backing down Polk. And an over-the-back call against Daryl Morcell.
I like the mismatch of trying to get Justin Lewis a look versus a smaller defender. I don't necessarily like Justin Lewis dribbling 10 times from the 3-point line to back down. I think it's an easier way to get him in a mismatch where he's not working so hard for that shot.
Free throws coming now for DeJuan Pruitt.
I like DeJuan Pruitt. I like his physical abilities. I like his athleticism. His ability to shoot from the perimeter. And you know, Coach Brian Baroni has done a good job throughout his college career in recruiting. He does a good job recruiting. And he has experience at the JUCO level. He has experience at high major D1. He knows how to recruit players. He has a pulse on how to entice and get recruits to understand coming to the program.
Here's Morcell on the drive, rejected by Wright. It'll stay right here. Yeah, to your point. When Baroni was an assistant at Green Bay, he was instrumental in both the recruitment and the development of 2-time Horizon League Player of the Year, Kiefer Sykes, and of course the second-round NBA draft pick Alec Brown back in 2015. On a drive from Carlos Curtis, he has got the basket to count. They'll call a goaltending on Marquette. And so now all of a sudden SIU-E changing the tides a little bit here at Fiserv Forum. It's back to single digits.
And right now you can afford to have Rayshon Taylor still sitting because you're chipping into the lead that Marquette had with him on the bench.
Here's Stevie Mitchell. Short on that 3. Courtney Carter bringing the ball up the floor. He's playing with 4 fouls. Couldn't get it past Kirkqueth. Up ahead to Morcell. And he is fouled on the dunk attempt. 2 shots coming.
If you're going to attack the paint and attack the rim against Marquette with Queth being in the game, you better be trying to dunk on him or have a floater. Because if not, it's a block party. Straight block party.
Queth has 3 blocks tonight. He was the 3rd leading shot blocker in the Big 12 last year. Had 40, 26 of those coming in Big 12 play. Meanwhile, Morcell now has 20 points in his debut for the Marquette Golden Eagles. And this is part of the reason why many felt like he made the move from Maryland, a team that many expect to be a contender to get back to the NCAA tournament this year. But he's always been a role player at Maryland offensively.
Exactly. You brought up a good point. He was looking for a bigger role. He felt like he's played college basketball. He excelled. And I always say, know your role, embrace your role, and star in your role. And he did that at Maryland. Now he wanted a bigger role.
A drive from Carlos Curtis goes down. Cougars hanging tough here midway through the second half. And an offensive foul will go against Marquette. And I believe it is against Morcell. That's his 3rd personal.
Yeah, Carter was just sizing that up. Moved his feet over the screen. Got his body into position. Easy call.
12th team foul in this half.
In every possession that the Cougars are able to get a defensive stop, and if they can capitalize on the defensive stop of the bucket, the more Rayshon Taylor can rest in foul trouble.
8 to shoot. And another turnover, a steal from Tyler Kolek. Shuffle pass back to Queth. And a foul goes against SIU-E. And that's Carlos Curtis getting up a little bit gimpy after the collision with Kirkqueth on the drive. That's a whole lot of man coming right down your screen.
6'10", 235 pounds from South Sudan, a transfer from Oklahoma. 6'10" with that reach.
7'5" wingspan. Kirkqueth.
You can't teach wingspan.
No, you cannot.
And then you talk about Prosper's wingspan and his length. You talk about Iguodaro's length.
Back to 10 for Marquette. Queth knocks down the second.
Queth came off that exhibition game with 12 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 blocks.
Here's Courtney Carter from the corner. And a run out for Marquette. Kolek in transition.
Kolek's been struggling offensively, but he's been making up for it with all the other things he's been doing, creating shots for other guys, the hustle plays, deflections.
Only 4 points for him tonight on 1 of 5, but he does have 7 assists. Here's Carter to the rack.
Carter showing athleticism, attacking that basket, playing above the rim.
Lewis creating space on the baseline. No. Queth fighting for it. And it'll go back to SIU-E. It has been impressive the way that Southern Illinois Edwardsville has come in here on opening night in the Big East at a packed house Fiserv Forum, the start of the Shaka Smart era, and they have kept it close. When it looked like at times throughout the second half, Marquette could really pull away.
I really like what SIU-E has done, and you're absolutely right. You know, we talked about last season, they weren't able to be all together. They played 19 games in 43 days. Now, just imagine the time they'll get this season to grow as a team. Ooh.
for Tyler Kolek.
That's that deceptive hesitation, freeze the defender that Kolek just did.
Tyler Kolek gets it back to 10 for Marquette. Trying to hang on here and get a W on opening night. Marquette on top of SIU-Edwardsville 72-62, 7:37 left in the second half in Milwaukee. This Veterans Day, we are making camo our cause in support of the U.S. Vets campaign and the belief that our veterans deserve to live with dignity and independence, not on the streets. You can do the same by wearing camo and posting with hashtag #HonorUSVets. For more information on how you can help U.S. vets and veteran homelessness, visit usvets.org. Good crowd on hand tonight at Fiserv Forum. Marquette lifting the curtain on a new era for their men's basketball program under first-year head coach Shaka Smart. They've also brought in 9 new scholarship players, including Tyler Kolek, who you just saw. And before break, made it a 10-point lead for Marquette. Shaka Smart having a homecoming of sorts for himself coming back to Marquette. He grew up 90 miles west of Milwaukee in a little town called Oregon, Wisconsin. And Dickie, there's been a lot made about his move from Texas to Marquette, but chatting with Shaka Smart, it just seems like this is a match that pairs identities and values between Shaka Smart and Marquette basketball.
Yeah, I mean, in your coaching career, you know, there are times where you have to make a change, or change is needed. And, you know, there's a new fit. One place was a fit at one time, and, you know, I talked to Shaka earlier today that he's been an assistant coach in the ACC, head coach in the Big 12. Now he's in the Big East now. He's in the Big East. I said, don't be bringing any of that stuff from Big 12 and the ACC. This is the Big East, man.
By the way, that last bucket, which was rejected by Kirkweth, will count. So back to single digits for SIUE. I loved what he said when you asked him, what are you bringing to the Big East? And he said, well, I don't know if I'm bringing anything new, but of all the coaches, I'm going to be the coach that's most grateful to be here.
Yes, that was impressive. He's going to make sure that everybody knows how grateful he is to be a coach in this great conference.
There's Sean Doss on the run out. Single-handed hammer time jam for Sean Doss. And just like that, it's a 2-possession ball game.
It seems like the Golden Eagles, as you see Doss just flying down the court, he's having flashbacks of scoring 27 points in this building last season, but he's just played unbelievably well and given this Cougars team a spark. 6 for 10, 13 points. And you're talking about when Brayshawn Taylor went out the game with 11:20 left, and they were down 11. He comes back in the game with 7:20, and now they're only down 6.
Well, you said he's a game changer for this Southern Illinois Edwardsville program. They did not have the luxury of having him on the floor last year. Missed all of last season with a torn ACL. He was one of 3 key players that missed the year with season-ending injuries. And they are just thrilled to have him back on the floor and making an impact. Another turnover gives it right back to the Cougars.
Well, he's definitely special.
Here's Desmond Polk from the corner. No. Tracks down his own board. Picked up by Omax Prosper. He's rejected at the rim. But the officials blow the whistle, and Prosper will get 2 shots. And he was met with some elevation from Shamar Wright.
Shamar Wright, 6'7", 185, went up and contested that. Got him a little bit on the hand, but I like the hustle. He didn't give up. I mean, I like Coach Baroni's team competing they are competing at a high level.
One more.
That is 3 fouls now on Shamar Wright. And so Brian Baroni has Taylor with 4, Shamar Wright with 3, and his twin brother Lamar Wright with 4. And now Shamar will head to the bench with those 3 fouls.
This SIU-Edwardsville team is playing with a chip on their shoulders.
Well, we talked about it in the first half. They lacked urgency in their exhibition game against Quincy. That has been the buzzword in this program coming into tonight. They have shown it from the tip.
Yeah, I can say right now, they have not lacked any sense of urgency in this game.
Jonathan Curtis in and out. Tip-in attempt no good from Sean Doss. Kolick trying to whip it, no look into Prosper. Tipped out of bounds. It'll stay right here. One of the big question marks coming into the season for Shaka Smart, who would run the point for Marquette with all these transfers coming in? And while Kolick hasn't had the best night shooting, he has shown why he earned the starting role with 7 assists, making 8. Hammer time. Also Iguodaro.
I like that right there. That's the confidence. That's the extra muscle and strength, the explosion. But it can only happen because Kolick seeing the division, making the defender commit, and dropping it off.
Taylor drawing contact on Daryl Morsell. 2 shots coming for Taylor. And for Morsell, that's his 4th. So now for Marquette. Cam Jones with 4, Morsell with 4, Tyler Kolick, Omax Prosper, and Justin Lewis all with 3. Check that, Lewis just with 2, but Prosper and Kolick playing with 3 fouls. One of the things that stood out when Brian Baroni talked to us about Rayshon Taylor, yes, he was out all last year, but what impressed Baroni the most about him was how he stayed engaged all season long. Wasn't afraid to speak up from the bench and be a voice for this team, even though he wasn't on the floor.
Yeah, the Cougars kind of have the same situation as the Golden Eagles. They're looking for a leadership presence, and because he was engaged, it seems like he's that player that will most likely be the one that can take over that duty of being the leader.
Iguodaro fighting for a 3rd opportunity, won't get it. Here is Taylor. And he pulls it back out. 75-68, 4:45 left in Milwaukee. Taylor scoots it down.
He might have got fouled right there, man.
A lot of contact on it. Stevie Mitchell comes right back the other way and responds. Mitchell with 14 points. The freshman from Reading, Pennsylvania.
I like Mitchell's poise, his composure as a freshman. He just drove it in nice and easy, read the defense, nice floater.
In this game right now playing with foul trouble. Lamar Wright has just checked back in, wearing number 55 for Southern Illinois Edwardsville. He's playing with 4 fouls.
You're talking about 4 minutes left. Cougars down by 7. This is a possession that Golden Eagles want to be efficient. What you're talking about when you talk about being efficient, but it was all set up by Kolick.
Kolick now with 9 assists to go along with 3 steals. Timeout on the floor taken by Brian Baroni. Also Iguodaro, 2-hand jam, and then Kolick finds Lewis. 79-70 mark. 9-point game here in Milwaukee, just under 4 minutes to play. Both teams playing with significant foul trouble. Marquette in the second half has 13 team fouls. And on the other side, for SIUE, it's not much better. Rayshon Taylor has been their leading scorer tonight. He has 4. He's in the ball game right now. And the Wright twins both playing with 4 fouls as well. Matt Schumacher and the 3-time NBA champ Dickie Simpkins with you. If you're SIUE here, Dickie, what are you running on this inbounds play to try and get back into this and make it potentially a 2-possession game?
Well, you're definitely going to have the ball in Rayshon Taylor's hand to make a play. You're looking at more of a ball screen situation. He should get a shot.
Taylor. 3 is off the mark, tipped around by Omax and into the hands of Kolek. 9 assists for Kolek, but he's picked by Pruitt. 2-on-1, and Wright finishes with a jam.
One of the rare turnovers by Kolek. Only 2 turnovers for the game, but a rare one.
13th turnover of the night for Marquette. 7-point deficit for SIUE. Under 3 to play at Fiserv Forum. Mitchell on the pull-up, no. Lewis was fouled on the baseline as he elevated for the rebound. It's a tight one here on Big East opening night. Don't go anywhere. 2:53 left. Welcome back to FS2 College Hoops, sponsored by Jeep. There's only one 7-point lead for Marquette. 2:52 left, 2:53 left in the ball game. And Daryl Morsell giving us a little morsel, Dickie, of maybe what's to come this season for the transfer from Maryland.
Yeah, I think we sold him short at the beginning of the game. We were talking about his defense. And he basically said, hey, man, forget about my defense. I came here to show you my offense and show you that I have the ability to do it on both sides of the court. He has definitely stood out and has an impressive performance thus far.
Leads all scorers with 21 points. Meanwhile, Justin Lewis at the free throw line. He has 14 to go along with 9 rebounds. Make it 15 for the redshirt freshman. It's funny. Shaka Smart joked with Justin Lewis all offseason. Ribbed him. You still don't have a double-double in college basketball. There's no better time, though, to get it than in the season opener. He's 1 rebound away.
1 rebound away. And he has like a quiet 15. Like, he's had a couple of buckets, but it's been like a quiet 15.
A super flashy player. Yes, he's got the bag of tricks, but he's not an in-your-face guy where you know he's knocking down threes or hammering home a monster jam.
Yeah, I mean, last season when I watched him, he had deceptive athleticism. He had some dunks on defenders that I was like, wow. And he had a knack for rebounding the ball, scrumming out offensive rebounds as well as defensive rebounds. And now in this game, he was showing a little bit of his rebounding and pushing out. I just want him to get to a point where there he goes, your double. Well, does that rebound count?
Step on the line.
On the rebound, does
Let's
that count?
see how they score it. He is still stuck on 9 rebounds. And the ball goes back to Southern Illinois Edwardsville. Now they only trail by 8 points here. 2:31 left. Both teams in the double bonus.
This is an important BOB, baseline out of bounds right here. You need to score off of this. Very good execution. Very good execution.
Wright with 11 points. And it's back to a 2-possession game. Stevie Mitchell running the point here for Marquette.
And this is an important part of the game for the Golden Eagles. This is a learning part of the game, time management, score.
There's Here's Lewis with 4 to shoot. Lewis hop step, finger roll goes down, and Lewis now has 17 points and extends the lead back to 8. Marquette.
On my travels across the country, I came across this house with water dripping from the ceiling. You never know when something like this will happen. So let the Geico Insurance Agency help you with homeowners insurance and protect yourself from things like fire, theft, or in this case, water damage. Now, if I had to guess, I'd say somewhere upstairs there's a broken pipe.
Geico. Save even more when you bundle home and car insurance at geico.com.
Welcome back to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Final minutes on opening night for Marquette men's basketball on top of SIU 83-75. Matt Schumacher, 3-time NBA champ Dickie Simpkins with you. Glad to have fans back in the stands. Shaka Smart in his first regular season game as the Marquette head men's basketball coach. Came over from Texas. And before that, VCU. Between them, 8 NCAA tournament appearances, including a Final Four with VCU back in 2011. And there is Brian Baroni, whose club has fought and clawed every minute of this game since tip-off. It was a 1-point game at halftime. And the Marquette alum has led his SIU Cougars into Milwaukee and given Marquette everything they can handle. Here's Taylor at the cup, draws a foul, and it goes against Daryl Morcell, and that is his 5th. And so Morcell has fouled out with 21 points tonight, partner. He heads to the bench for the final 138.
Yeah, the offensive impact that he's done is still needed in this little bit of the game, but let's see.
We've seen a lot more contact than that tonight.
Yeah. I mean, we saw Dewan Pruitt almost he pushed Iguodala down to the ground lightly, but that's a questionable call right there. Nevertheless, Marquette still has to figure out how to take care of the ball right here, how to get a good shot still. And I like the fact that the Cougars are putting everything on the line right now. 3/4 court pressure.
Lewis, Prosper, Kolick, Iguodala, and Mitchell on the floor for Marquette. And for SIU, it's Pruitt, right, Doss, and Curtis. 6 seconds on the shot clock. Kolick down to Iguodala, and a rare errant pass from Kolick gives it right back to the Cougars.
So you see the Cougars defensive lineup, the roster they had on the court right there. Everybody could switch at every position. You had speed and quickness. You're trapping ball screens to create that turnover. I mean, this is still a game. This is a 2-possession game.
On the drive from Pruitt, had it knocked loose. So it'll stay right here. Shot clock resets to 20. Baseline out of bounds for Southern Illinois Edwardsville.
Have to come off here thinking to score right off the baseline out of bounds play. They were successful the last one.
Here's Sean Doss on the drive, rejected by Oso Iguodala.
Last season, you wouldn't have seen Iguodala with the dunk that he had, dunking on the defender, the rim protection that he's providing right now. He has made big steps of improvement in his game from last season to this season so far.
Deshaun Taylor. Errant pass goes over the head of Sean Doss. And a turnover, the 25th of the night for Brian Baroni's club, gives it back to Marquette.
Well, that turnover happens because, once again, Iguodala had two big plays on that possession. The block shot out of bounds. And if you're not watching it, you got to go back and watch the film, but he's going to get commended tomorrow when they're watching the film. He showed big on the ball screen, using his size and his length, made the pass difficult for Deshaun Taylor.
Both teams in the double bonus. If you're SIU-E, do you foul here right away? Or do you let the clock go a little bit and try to defend and get a turnover?
You try to get a steal. You try to get a steal or a turnover on the first pass. Once it gets to the second pass, you foul right away. So defense on the first pass to try to come up with a steal and a turnover. That's the first pass. Now, after 3 dribbles, after the second, now you got to foul.
Courtney Carter fouls, and now he will foul out. He was defending Kolick. When he got the inbounds pass, you could tell he didn't want to foul.
Right.
But now Courtney Carter has 5. He heads to the bench. And the freshman Cam Jones from Cordova, Tennessee, heads to the stripe for Marquette.
Well, that was the right idea. Then you foul the freshman who misses the free throw. But you had 49 seconds. It's a 2-possession game. You want to try to trap and get a steal out of that first pass. Second pass foul right away, which the Cougars did.
Jones leaving the door open a little bit. He missed the first. Knocks down the second. And it's a 7-point basketball game. Now offensively, how do you play it if you're SIU-E? They haven't taken many threes tonight.
Well, you're going against a set defense. I want to get some ball movement and body movement, and I want to attack the paint.
And a quick timeout called by head coach Ryan Baroni. He wants to talk things over. His team is just 2 for 11 from downtown. But they've shot 49% from the field. And they've managed, Dickey, to stay in this game. And this is a team that lost by 1 point at home last week in an exhibition game against a D2 school in Quincy. Much different team tonight as we reset the game clock. Reset the game, rather. Both teams in the double bonus. 1 timeout left for SIU-E, and they do have the possession arrow in their favor.
Well, they've been able to stay in this game and stay this close in the game because they're shooting close to 50% from the field, but they've also gotten to the free throw line with 19 made free throws. Only shooting 65%, but nevertheless, it's keeping them in the game right here. 3-possession game. You want to come out and move the ball side to side, maybe a ball screen, but again, you still need to get a paint touch because Marquette's going to come out. They're going to close the paint down. They're not going to just give you a 3, but they're going to play the percentages that you're shooting 2 for 11. You shot 31% from 3 last season as a team. The last thing they want to see you do is get to the basket.
Marquette's upcoming schedule. Within the next week, they will take on a number 11 Illinois team that returns preseason All-American Kofi Coburn and company. And then a few weeks after that, they have a top 3 team in UCLA coming to town with Johnny Juzang.
They're going to play against Johnny Juzang. UCLA coming off of that NCAA tournament run. You talked about Kofi Coburn in Illinois. They have Omar Payne, the Florida transfer.
There is Rayshawn Taylor. Off the mark on the 3-point attempt. Rebound, Justin Lewis. And out to Tyler Kolick.
Got a foul.
And there is the foul from Rayshawn Taylor.
That's 5.
He didn't want to do it because, as you said, Dickey, he will head to the bench and has fouled out tonight.
Well, that was a tough shot. That was a tough possession coming out of the timeout, the ATO after timeouts for him to shoot that 3.
Taylor fouls out with 16 points and 5 rebounds. So now 2 shots for Tyler Kolick. And last year he shot 79% at George Mason en route to becoming the A10 Freshman of the Year.
I'm going to make a prediction right here and say Kolick is going to lead the Big East in assists and be one of the, if not lead the country, be one of the top 3 in assists in college basketball.
Doss reaches in and fouls Kolek to stop the clock, and that should do it here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was a one-point game at halftime, 39-38 Marquette. SIU straight up battled from opening tip to final buzzer. And the final score, I don't think, is going to express how close this game really was.
No, the final score is not going to indicate the competitiveness that the Cougars played with today, the fire, the chip on their shoulders. Coming up short, but making this game very close, making Marquette have to really methodically think out the last 3 minutes of the game. But I like the talent of this Cougars team, Matt. I like what I see for them in the OVC, in the Ohio Valley Conference.
Picked 11th in the OVC. I don't think they'll be finishing that far down the poll. Meanwhile, Shaka Smart and his opening night as the Marquette head coach gets the W 88-77 at home at Fiserv Forum. For Dickie Simpkins, our entire Fox crew, I'm Matt Schumacher saying so long from Milwaukee.